What if the real reason your life feels stuck is because you've been focusing on everyone but yourself? Think about it. How much of your time, your energy, your thoughts are spent trying to meet expectations that weren't even yours to begin with? How often do you feel overwhelmed, not because you're doing too little, but because you're doing too much for everyone else? From the moment we're born, we're taught to look outward. Approval from parents, acceptance from peers, recognition from teachers, bosses, strangers. Be polite, be productive, be what the world expects you to be. And in chasing that, something happens, you forget yourself. You bury your needs, you silence your voice, and eventually you lose your identity. But here's the truth. You can't transform your life by focusing on things outside of you. You won't find peace in a relationship if you've never made peace with yourself. You won't find purpose in work if you're constantly ignoring your own values. You won't feel free if you're still carrying the weight of everyone else's opinions. You have to turn inward. You have to focus on you. This isn't selfishness, this is survival. Dr. GABOR MATÉ says, the moment you stop running from yourself, the real healing begins. And maybe that's what you've been doing. Running from the silence, from the pain, from the truth. But if you keep running, you'll spend your life circling the same emptiness. Because no matter how far you go, you're always taking yourself with you. So stop, breathe, and come home to yourself. Start asking the questions you've been avoiding. What do I need, not what do they expect? What do I feel, not what should I feel? Who am I, beneath the masks, the roles, the performance? It's scary at first. Focusing on yourself means facing things, old wounds, buried emotions. But it also means rediscovering things you've forgotten, your strength, your dreams, your voice, that part of you that's still alive, underneath it all, waiting. And here's the reward. When you make yourself your focus, you stop living a life of reaction and start living with intention. You stop bending to fit into spaces that were never meant for you. You start building a life that feels like it belongs to you, because it does. This journey is not about becoming someone new. It's about remembering who you were before the world told you who to be. And that version of you, the real you, is still here, still possible, still powerful. So if you've been tired, lost, overwhelmed, you're not broken. You're just disconnected. And the way back isn't through more hustle, more noise, more pretending. The way back is through focus. Focus on your breath, your truth, your healing, yourself. Because the moment you stop giving your energy away to everything that drains you and start pouring it into yourself, is the moment your life begins to change. This is your moment. Stay with it. Watch until the end. Because the most important relationship you'll ever have is the one you build with yourself. You're not starting from scratch. You're starting from experience. And even if that experience includes pain, trauma, rejection, or years of pretending, there's still something sacred in you that was never damaged, only hidden, buried under layers of survival because you were never broken. You were conditioned to believe love must be earned, conditioned to believe your emotions were too much, conditioned to believe that being strong means staying silent. But strength isn't silence. Strength is truth. And the truth is, so much of who you've become isn't who you are. It's who you needed to be to feel safe, to belong, to be loved. That version of you, the one who always smiled even when it hurt, the one who said yes when everything in you screamed no, the one who kept the peace by holding back your pain, that wasn't weakness. That was survival. But survival isn't living, it's coping. And you weren't born to just cope. Dr. GABOR MATÉ teaches that trauma isn't just what happened to you. It's what happens inside you when you're disconnected from yourself as a result of what happened. And when you begin to see that, really see that, you stop blaming yourself for your pain. You stop thinking, what's wrong with me? And you start asking, what happened to me? And that question changes everything because you realize your inner critic isn't your truth. It's your conditioning. Your self-doubt isn't who you are. It's a reflection of the environments that didn't see you, hear you, or hold you the way you needed. You begin to understand that the fear of taking up space didn't start with you. And once you understand that, you have a choice. Stay buried under layers of survival or start digging toward your real self. Focusing on yourself means removing the false identities you've worn for years. The people pleaser, the overachiever, the one who keeps it all together. You take them off, not because they're bad, but because they're not you. The real you is underneath. The real you is resilient and hurt and brave and still here. You don't need to be fixed. You need to be found by you. There's a version of you that knows how to breathe fully again. A version that can walk into a room and feel like you belong without needing to perform. A version that doesn't just survive the day but feels awake in it, present, grounded, powerful. But that version doesn't come from pleasing others. It doesn't come from external validation. It doesn't come from being what the world says you should be. It comes when you turn inward, when you listen to your own voice, when you let your truth matter more than your image. This isn't about blaming your past, it's about reclaiming your future. And it starts now. Start by noticing. Where do you abandon yourself? Where do you say yes when you mean no? Where do you shrink to keep others comfortable? And then gently stop. You don't have to rush. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to start focusing on the only person who can change your life. You, not the version shaped by fear, not the version shaped by shame, but the version that's been waiting silently, patiently, powerfully for you to come back home. That's the real you. And they're still here, still ready, still possible. If you spend most of your life giving everything to others, it can feel unnatural, almost wrong to give anything to yourself. You were likely praised for it. So kind, so selfless, so helpful, and maybe part of you believed that your worth came from how little space you took up, how quiet you could be, how much of yourself you were willing to give away. But what the world calls selflessness is often just self-abandonment in disguise. You weren't born to disappear behind your roles. You weren't put here to constantly meet other people's needs while denying your own. That's not compassion. That's conditioning. And it's a conditioning rooted in fear. Fear of rejection, fear of being seen as selfish, fear of being left behind. Somewhere along the line you were taught that love had to be earned, that your value was transactional, that in order to be safe you had to be small, but no more. You can still care deeply without destroying yourself. You can still give love without making yourself the sacrifice. You can still be kind without being invisible. Because the truth is, no one benefits from your burnout. No one thrives in your silence. No one grows in the shadow of your people-pleasing. Dr. GABOR MATÉ reminds us that the body keeps the score. When you constantly betray yourself to keep others happy, your body remembers the tension in your jaw, the tightness in your chest, the fatigue that never leaves. These are not random symptoms, they are signals, evidence of a self that's been neglected for too long. And healing begins the moment you decide you're no longer willing to betray yourself to be accepted. This isn't about turning your back on others. It's about finally turning towards yourself, listening to your needs, respecting your limits, honoring your truth even when it's uncomfortable, especially when it's uncomfortable, because growth lives in discomfort. And the discomfort you feel when setting a boundary, that's not guilt, that's transformation. That's you stretching into your true self. That's you choosing yourself for the first time in a long time. And yes, some people might not like it. Some relationships might shift, but the ones meant for you will never require your silence. They will never ask you to shrink. They will never resent you for healing. Let them fall away if they must. You're not here to keep the peace at the cost of your own. You're here to build a life that reflects who you truly are, not who you were taught to be. You owe yourself presence. You owe yourself protection. You owe yourself permission to finally take up space. Because the greatest act of self-respect is to stop handing your power to people who only love the version of you that doesn't ask for anything. So today, ask. Ask for space. Ask for truth. Ask for more from yourself, not less. And give yourself what you've always given so freely to everyone else, grace, patience, and unconditional care, not because you need to become someone better, but because you've spent too long being someone you're not. And the world needs the real you, the whole you, the one who knows their worth not because it was given, but because it was reclaimed. You've been taught to chase. Chase goals, chase approval, chase love. And maybe for a while it worked. You got the recognition, you earned the praise, you played the part well. But inside, Something always felt off, like no matter how much you achieved, it never filled the space you were trying to escape from. That emptiness isn't a failure, it's a signal. It's your soul asking a deeper question: what if what I've been chasing was never meant to fulfill me? Because achievement without alignment is exhaustion. Success without self-connection is just another mask. You can reach the top of everything the world calls valuable and still feel like a stranger to yourself. That's what happens when you build a life on noise instead of listening. The world doesn't teach you how to be still. It teaches you how to distract yourself, how to stay busy enough, entertained enough, consumed enough that you never have to sit with yourself. But silence is not your enemy. It's your gateway back home. When you stop chasing and start listening, you meet the part of you that's been whispering all along. The part that knows what you truly need, what you truly feel, what you truly are. And often, what you hear first is pain. Not because you're broken, but because you've buried so much of yourself just to survive. GABOR MATÉ teaches that suppressed emotions don't disappear. They resurface in the body, in the mind, in the patterns we repeat. Your anxiety, your restlessness, your burnout. They're not random, they're messengers. You are not weak for feeling overwhelmed. You are not flawed for needing rest. You are not lost because you're questioning your path. These are signs of aliveness, signs that the false self you created to cope is no longer enough. And that's not a problem, that's an invitation to slow down, to breathe, to listen. Because when you truly listen to yourself, you begin to realize just how much wisdom lives inside of you. The wisdom to say no without guilt, the wisdom to leave what drains you, the wisdom to choose peace over performance. That wisdom doesn't come from books or gurus or trends. It comes from within, and you've had it all along. But you can only access it when you stop outsourcing your value and start reclaiming your attention. Attention is power. What you give it to grows. What you withhold it from fades. And for far too long, your attention has been hijacked by external noise, by other people's needs, by the belief that you have to keep proving your worth. Now is the time to reclaim it, to make your focus sacred again, to center your energy not on being more, doing more, pleasing more, but on being fully, deeply present with yourself. Because the answers you're looking for don't live in more effort. They live in more alignment. They live in the pause, in the breath, in the space you create when you stop chasing and start listening. This is not about doing more. It's about becoming more of who you already are. And that begins, not with another task, another goal, another climb, but with your full attention turned inward and the courage to hear your truth without flinching. When you begin to truly focus on yourself, something extraordinary happens. You start to reclaim your time. Not just the hours in your day, but the quality of those hours. You stop letting your attention scatter to 1,000 demands that don't serve your soul. You stop giving away your energy to people, tasks, and distractions that leave you feeling drained and empty. This reclaiming of time is a radical act of self-respect. It says, my life is valuable, my energy is sacred, I will no longer waste it trying to be everything for everyone else. It is not selfish, it is survival. It is the foundation of transformation. Because without your time and attention, real change is impossible. You can't heal what you never acknowledge. You can't grow what you never nurture. You can't find your way when you're running in every direction but your own. When you focus on yourself, you start to see the invisible forces pulling you away from your true path. The habits that numb you, the fears that trap you, the voices that tell you you're not enough. And instead of pushing them down or hiding from them, you begin to face them with courage and compassion. You learn that your fear isn't a weakness. It's a signal that you're stepping into the unknown. Your doubts aren't failures. They're invitations to examine what really matters. Your pain isn't a punishment. It's a message that something inside you is ready to heal. This is the power of self-focus. It transforms fear into fuel, doubt into discovery, and pain into purpose. And as you do this, you start to reclaim not just your time, but your choices. The small moments when you decide to say no instead of yes, to rest instead of push, to listen instead of react. Each choice is a vote for the life you want to live. Each boundary is a declaration of your worth. You realize that transformation is not a giant leap, but a series of small intentional acts. each one building on the last, each one bringing you closer to the person you're meant to be. It's in these daily decisions that your courage grows. It's in the moments you choose yourself over approval that your power expands. It's in the times you allow yourself to rest and reflect that your spirit deepens. Dr. GABOR MATÉ reminds us that true healing comes from connection to ourselves first. When you focus solely on yourself, you create the conditions for that connection to flourish. You become a safe space for your own growth and transformation. And from that place of safety, everything else begins to shift. Your relationships, your work, your sense of purpose. Because when you know yourself deeply, you stop searching for validation outside and start creating meaning from within. This is not an easy path. It requires honesty, patience, and the willingness to face uncomfortable truths. But it is the only path that leads to lasting change, the only path that leads to freedom. You don't have to wait for permission. You don't have to earn this right. It's already yours. The moment you decide to focus on yourself is the moment your life begins to transform. So take back your time. Protect your energy. Choose yourself. Because when you do, you open the door to the life you were always meant to live. The life waiting for you beyond fear, beyond doubt, beyond everything holding you back. The moment you choose to focus solely on yourself, you step into a profound responsibility. The responsibility to become your own guardian. For too long, you may have relied on others to validate you, protect you, or tell you that you matter. But the truth is, no one else will ever care for you with the same intensity, the same commitment, or the same love as you can. This isn't a burden. It's liberation. Liberation from the endless cycle of seeking approval outside of yourself. Liberation from the exhausting need to prove your worth to the world. Liberation from living a life dictated by the fears and expectations of others. When you become your own guardian, you hold the power to protect your peace, defend your dreams, and nurture your growth. It begins with boundaries, not just physical limits, but emotional, mental, and spiritual ones. Boundaries that say, I am worthy of respect. Boundaries that say, I will not sacrifice my well-being to make others comfortable. Boundaries that say, my needs matter. And setting boundaries isn't about shutting people out. It's about creating space. Space for your healing, space for your growth, space for your true self to emerge. Without these boundaries, your energy leaks away like water through cracked walls. You become depleted, resentful, and disconnected from who you really are. But when you commit to guarding yourself, something powerful happens. You become a beacon of strength, not just for yourself, but for everyone around you. Because when you show up whole, you invite others to do the same. When you honor your truth, you give others permission to honor theirs. When you protect your peace, you create a ripple effect that changes the energy of your entire world. Dr. GABOR MATÉ reminds us that connection is the key to healing. And the deepest connection starts within. To truly connect with others, you must first connect with yourself. This connection requires vulnerability, courage, and the willingness to face the parts of you that have been ignored or rejected. It's not easy to be your own guardian. You will encounter resistance, both from within and from without. Old fears will rise. Old doubts will whisper that you don't deserve this care. Others may resist your newfound boundaries because they challenge the familiar dynamics they're used to. But every time you stand firm, you build your resilience. Every time you choose yourself over comfort, you strengthen your spirit. Every time you hold your own hand through the darkness, you grow closer to the light inside you. This responsibility to guard, protect, and nurture yourself is the foundation of true transformation. Without it, change is temporary, surface level, and vulnerable to the storms of life. With it, change becomes rooted, lasting, and unshakable. You are the architect of your own life, the guardian of your own soul, the keeper of your own flame. No one else can do this for you. No one else has the same clarity about your pain, your dreams, or your worth. So stand up for yourself, speak for yourself, care for yourself as fiercely as you would for the people you love most. Because the deepest act of love you can offer the world is to love yourself first. This is not vanity, this is survival. This is healing, this is power. And the moment you decide to be your own guardian, you begin a journey that will change everything, the way you see yourself, the way you move through the world, the way you create your future. You are worth this fight. You are worth this love. You are worth this transformation. And it starts with one choice: to focus solely on yourself. When you finally turn your attention inward, you begin to uncover what has been buried beneath layers of distraction, doubt, and denial. You start to recognize the hidden parts of yourself, the fears that have kept you small, the longings that have been silenced, the wounds that have shaped your every move. This awakening is not comfortable. It is raw. It is honest. It demands that you meet yourself with courage and compassion, without judgment or shame. This is the moment where true healing begins, not because you erase the past, but because you stop running from it. You give yourself permission to feel everything that's been pushed down: the sadness, the anger, the loneliness, the fear. These emotions are not enemies. They are messengers trying to guide you back to your true self. When you embrace your pain instead of avoiding it, something miraculous happens. You no longer need to hide behind masks or defenses. You start to see yourself as whole, not broken. You begin to understand that your struggles are not signs of failure, but of survival, resilience, and growth. Dr. GABOR MATÉ teaches that authentic transformation requires this deep self-acceptance. Without it, any change you try to make will be fragile and temporary because it's built on a foundation of self-rejection. But when you learn to hold your pain with tenderness, you create space for new possibilities. You shift from fighting against yourself to fighting for yourself. This is a profound shift, a shift from resistance to surrender, and surrender is not giving up. It is the courage to accept what is, so you can choose what will be. It's the bravery to sit with discomfort, knowing it's part of the process. It's the willingness to face your shadows so your light can shine brighter. As you deepen this inner work, you begin to notice patterns of thought, behavior, and belief that no longer serve you, patterns that have kept you stuck in cycles of self-doubt, self-sabotage, and self-criticism. Recognizing these patterns is painful but necessary. It is the first step toward breaking free. And breaking free is possible because you are not your patterns. You are the awareness behind them. The part of you that watches without judgment. The part that chooses whether to stay trapped or to rise. Focusing solely on yourself means embracing this choice every day. It means showing up for yourself, even when it's hard. Even when your mind tries to convince you that you're not worthy. Even when old fears threaten to pull you back into hiding. Because transformation is a practice, not a destination. It's a series of small, intentional acts. Moments where you choose presence over distraction, love over fear, authenticity over approval. Each time you choose yourself, you rewrite the story you've been telling about who you are and what you deserve. And that story matters. It shapes your reality. It influences your relationships, your work, your health, and your happiness. When you change the story, you change your life. The process is not linear. There will be setbacks, moments of doubt, and times when it feels easier to slip back into old habits. But these moments do not define you. What defines you is your willingness to keep returning to yourself, again and again. You are more than your past. You are more than your mistakes. You are more than the voices that tell you to give up. You are a force of nature capable of healing, growth, and profound change. And it all begins with the choice to focus solely on yourself, not out of selfishness, but out of necessity. Because when you honor yourself, you ignite a transformation that ripples outward, touching every part of your life. You become a living example of courage, resilience, and authenticity. And in doing so, you inspire others to do the same. This journey is yours. It's difficult, yes, but it's also the most beautiful, powerful, and liberating path you will ever walk. And it starts right here, right now, with one radical decision: to focus on yourself and transform your life. As you continue this journey inward, you will discover that focusing solely on yourself is not a destination, but a lifelong commitment, a daily practice of choosing presence, awareness, and authenticity over distraction, denial, and conformity. It's an ongoing dance between your past and your potential, your fears and your courage, your wounds and your wisdom. Every day will bring challenges, moments when the old voices of doubt, guilt, and fear try to pull you back into familiar patterns. You may feel the weight of others' expectations, the pressure to perform, the pull to put everyone else first. But each time you feel this resistance, remember that it is your opportunity to grow stronger, clearer, and more rooted in your truth. You don't have to do this perfectly. Transformation is not about perfection. It's about persistence. It's about showing up for yourself even when it's hard, even when it feels uncomfortable, even when your mind screams that you don't deserve this care, because deep inside you do. You deserve the time to heal, the space to breathe, the freedom to be yourself without apology or explanation. You deserve a life where your worth is not measured by what you do or what others think, but by the simple fact that you exist. Dr. GABOR MATÉ teaches that the root of suffering often lies in disconnection. From others, yes, but most importantly, from ourselves. The path to wholeness, then, is reconnection. Reconnection with your body, your feelings, your needs, your dreams. This reconnection is revolutionary. It changes the way you see yourself and how you move through the world. When you reconnect with yourself, you reclaim your power. You stop living on autopilot, reacting to life's demands without reflection. You start to make choices that nourish your soul, not just your ego. You begin to recognize that true freedom comes from inside, not from approval, possessions, or external achievements. This internal freedom is what sets you apart. It is what allows you to walk through life with resilience, grace, and unwavering confidence. It is the foundation for a meaningful, fulfilling existence. And this freedom grows the more you practice self-focus, the more you listen deeply to your inner voice, the more you honor your boundaries, the more you embrace your vulnerabilities as strengths. This is the paradox of transformation. By focusing on yourself, you don't become selfish, you become whole. By turning inward, you open outward. By healing yourself, you heal your relationships, your work, your community. Your transformation becomes a beacon for others, a silent invitation to step off the treadmill of approval and distraction, and step into their own truth. You are not alone on this path. Every person who has dared to focus on themselves has faced the same fears, the same doubts, the same struggles, but every one of them also discovered the same profound truth, that the courage to face themselves was the greatest gift they could give, not just to themselves, but to the world. You have that courage too. It is waiting inside you, beneath the noise and the pain, waiting for you to stop running and start listening, waiting for you to choose yourself again and again. So stand firm in this commitment. Protect your time, your energy, your peace. Let go of what no longer serves you. Embrace the discomfort of growth as a sign that you're alive and moving forward. Your life is not a rehearsal. You have one chance to live fully, authentically, and boldly. Focus solely on yourself, not to escape responsibility or connection, but to create a foundation so strong that everything you touch thrives. This is your moment, your call to action. Choose yourself, transform your life, and watch how the world around you begins to change in ways you never thought possible. Your mind will try to convince you that focusing solely on yourself is selfish or indulgent. It will whisper that you're being selfish, that you're neglecting others, that you're somehow wrong for prioritizing your own well-being. But this is a lie designed to keep you small and stuck. The truth is, when you fully invest in yourself, you become stronger, clearer, and more capable of giving, not from a place of depletion, but from a place of abundance. You cannot pour from an empty cup. No matter how much you give to others, if you neglect yourself, you will run dry. But when you nourish yourself first, your mind, your body, your soul, you fill your cup to overflow. Then you can share your gifts without losing yourself in the process. This is not about selfishness. It is about self-preservation. It is about recognizing that your energy, your attention, and your love are precious resources that must be guarded fiercely. Dr. GABOR MATÉ teaches that our wounds and our capacity to heal are interconnected. When you focus on yourself, you create the space to address the wounds you have carried silently, those invisible burdens that have shaped your thoughts, your behaviors, your relationships. You give yourself permission to face the uncomfortable truths you've avoided, to feel the feelings you've suppressed, and to begin the healing process that leads to freedom. Healing is not a destination. It's a journey filled with patience, grace, and persistence. It asks you to be honest with yourself about where you've been without allowing the past to define who you will become. It invites you to rewrite your story, to release old narratives of unworthiness, and to embrace a new story rooted in self-love, courage, and possibility. This journey requires that you listen deeply to your body, your emotions, and your intuition. These are the voices of your authentic self. speaking truths that your mind may try to silence. When you honor these voices, you begin to align your actions with your deepest values and desires, and alignment is powerful. It creates a magnetic force that draws opportunities, people, and experiences that resonate with your true self. It brings clarity to your decisions and peace to your mind. It frees you from the exhausting cycle of chasing external validation. By focusing solely on yourself, you reclaim your power to choose. You learn that you don't have to say yes to every demand or expectation. You can set boundaries that protect your well-being. You can say no without guilt and yes with intention. Each choice you make in alignment with yourself is an act of liberation. It loosens the chains of fear, doubt, and obligation. It opens the door to creativity, joy, and fulfillment. It allows you to live authentically, unapologetically, and fully. Transformation ripples beyond your own life. When you heal and grow, your relationships deepen in honesty and intimacy. Your work becomes more meaningful because it reflects your true passions. Your presence becomes a source of inspiration and strength for others. You become a living example of what is possible when you dare to focus solely on yourself. Remember, this is not a selfish act, but a courageous declaration that you are worthy of care, respect, and love, that your life matters, that your dreams matter, that your voice matters. This commitment to yourself is the foundation of a transformed life. It is the seed from which your greatest potential will grow. So, listen closely to the quiet call within you, the call to stop running and start being, the call to focus on yourself with fierce love and unwavering courage. When you answer that call, you begin to unlock the life you were always meant to live, a life of freedom, authenticity, and profound transformation. There is an undeniable power in claiming your own attention when you stop scattering it to every distraction, every demand, every voice but your own. This power grows quietly at first, but with each deliberate moment you dedicate to yourself, it blossoms into a force that reshapes everything. You begin to understand that your life is not something that happens to you. It is something you create moment by moment, choice by choice. The world often encourages us to look outward, to seek validation, success, and happiness from others. But this external seeking can leave you feeling hollow, exhausted, and disconnected from your true self. The constant chase drains your energy, fragments your focus, and silences the inner voice that knows what you really need. Focusing solely on yourself turns this pattern upside down. It calls you back to the center of your own life, where your authentic power resides. When you reclaim your focus, you reclaim your story. You rewrite the narrative that has kept you playing small or conforming to expectations that don't align with your soul. This is a radical act, one that requires honesty and vulnerability. It demands that you face your fears, your insecurities, and your self-doubt without flinching. But it also offers a reward so profound that no struggle can diminish it, the freedom to live fully and authentically. This freedom is not a distant dream. It is available here and now. The moment you stop giving away your energy to things that don't serve you, you open space for clarity, creativity, and peace. You begin to sense what truly matters and what is merely noise. You reconnect with your deepest desires and the unique gifts you have to offer the world. Dr. GABOR MATÉ emphasizes the importance of this inner clarity in healing and transformation. When your attention is focused inward, you develop an intimate understanding of your needs, your boundaries, and your potential. This understanding is a shield against the confusion and overwhelm that often plague us. It allows you to navigate life with a steady heart and a clear mind. As your focus sharpens, you start to notice how much power you've been giving away to fear, to other people's opinions, to old habits that no longer serve you. Recognizing this is a pivotal moment. It is a call to reclaim that power and use it to build a life that honors your truth. This process is both simple and profound. Simple because it boils down to one principle: choose yourself. Profound because every time you make that choice, you transform. Your mind becomes clearer, your heart grows stronger, your spirit awakens. You begin to act from a place of alignment, not reaction. You make decisions that reflect your values, not your fears. You nurture relationships that support your growth, not drain your energy. You cultivate habits that build your strength, not weaken it. And with each step, you shed layers of doubt, guilt, and confusion. You reclaim parts of yourself that were lost or hidden. You come closer to the person you were always meant to be. The person knows their worth, trusts their intuition, and embraces life with courage. This journey is not easy. It will test you. It will push you to your limits. But it will also reward you with a deep, unshakable peace. The kind of peace that comes from knowing you are living your truth. So let go of the noise. Let go of the distractions. Let go of the need to prove yourself to anyone else. Focus solely on yourself, not as an act of isolation, but as an act of liberation. Because when you do, you unlock the power to transform your life from the inside out. And in doing so, you create a ripple effect that touches everything and everyone around you in ways you never imagined possible. Your transformation starts here. Your power is within you. Your life is waiting. Every moment you choose to focus on yourself is a moment of rebellion against a world that constantly demands your energy, your attention, your very essence. It's a radical act because it says loud and clear that your well-being matters, that your growth matters, that your inner life is worthy of investment and care. This act of self-focus is not about isolation or selfishness. It's about reclaiming your life from the noise and chaos that distract you from your true path. It's about building a foundation so solid that nothing external can shake you. When you invest in yourself, you create a fortress of resilience, clarity, and peace, a sanctuary where your authentic self can thrive. The brain craves focus. It thrives when given a clear target. When your focus is scattered, your energy disperses, your motivation wanes, and anxiety creeps in. But when you train your mind to center on yourself, your needs, your feelings, your growth, you ignite a powerful neurological shift. Your brain begins to rewire, forming new pathways that support your highest potential. This is science meeting soul, a perfect harmony that fuels transformation. Dr. GABOR MATÉ reminds us that much of our suffering stems from disconnection, not only from others, but more importantly, from ourselves. The pain we carry often results from ignoring or suppressing our inner truths. By focusing on yourself, you reverse this pattern. You reconnect with your body's signals, your emotional landscape, and your deeper wisdom. This reconnection is the doorway to healing. As you deepen your self-focus, you start to recognize the subtle ways you've been betraying yourself. Maybe it's in the quiet moments when you dismiss your feelings, or the times you push through exhaustion to meet others' expectations. Maybe it's the harsh inner critic that tells you you're not enough. Recognizing these patterns is painful but necessary. It's the first step toward reclaiming your power. The power you reclaim is immense. It frees you from unconscious habits and toxic dynamics. It allows you to set boundaries that protect your energy and nurture your soul. It empowers you to say no to what drains you and yes to what fuels your growth. Each boundary you set is a declaration, I am worth your respect. I honor my own needs. This is the essence of transformation, turning inward to find the strength and clarity that will carry you forward. It requires courage because you must face uncomfortable truths and old wounds. It requires patience because change does not happen overnight. But with each act of self-focus, you move closer to the freedom and fulfillment you crave. Imagine living each day guided not by fear, obligation, or approval, but by your own inner compass. Imagine waking up with a sense of purpose rooted in your true desires and values. Imagine relationships grounded in authenticity, where you give and receive love freely, without sacrifice or compromise. This is not a fantasy. It is your potential reality when you commit to focusing on yourself, when you choose to listen deeply, act intentionally, and nurture relentlessly. You have everything you need within you, the strength, the wisdom, the resilience, the capacity to heal and grow. You just need to decide to turn your focus inward with unwavering dedication and love. Because when you do, you become unstoppable. You become a beacon of light, not only for yourself, but for everyone around you. The journey will challenge you. It will stretch you, but it will also transform you into the fullest expression of who you are meant to be. So stand firm in your commitment, protect your focus fiercely, prioritize your growth relentlessly. Your life is waiting for you to step into it fully. The time is now, the power is yours, the choice is clear. Focus solely on yourself and watch your world change forever. You have been conditioned to believe that your worth depends on how much you give to others, how much you achieve, how well you meet expectations. But this mindset is a trap that keeps you disconnected from your true self. When you focus solely on yourself, you begin to dismantle this illusion. You start to see that your value is inherent, not earned or negotiated. It is simply because you exist. This realization shifts everything. Suddenly, you no longer need to chase approval or measure yourself against impossible standards. You begin to honor your own rhythm, your own needs, your own boundaries. You create a sacred space where your soul can breathe and grow. Dr. GABOR MATÉ speaks to this truth deeply. Healing and transformation come from reconnecting with yourself in an honest, compassionate way. When you turn your attention inward, not to judge, but to understand, you unlock a profound source of strength. You learn to listen to the whispers of your body and the language of your emotions. You begin to trust your inner guidance over external noise. This process is revolutionary because it shifts the power dynamic. Instead of giving away your energy to what distracts and drains you, you reclaim it. You become the steward of your own life. This stewardship demands courage because it means facing parts of yourself you may have ignored or hidden. It means sitting with discomfort instead of fleeing. It means choosing growth over comfort, but the reward is immense. When you make this choice, you step into your true power, the power to live with purpose, passion, and peace. You gain clarity about what truly matters to you, and your decisions become aligned with your deepest values. You no longer react impulsively or out of fear. You respond intentionally and from a place of authenticity. As you strengthen this inner connection, your relationships transform. You attract people who honor and support your growth. You communicate with honesty and empathy. You create boundaries that protect your energy without guilt or shame. This is not about pushing others away, but about inviting genuine connection that nourishes rather than depletes. Your work, your creativity, your contributions become infused with meaning because they flow from a place of authenticity rather than obligation. You find joy in the process rather than fixating on outcomes. You move through life with a sense of alignment that is both grounding and uplifting. This transformation is not a luxury, it is essential. It is the foundation upon which a resilient, fulfilling life is built. When you neglect yourself, you become vulnerable to burnout, resentment, and despair. When you focus solely on yourself, you cultivate resilience, joy, and clarity. Your journey inward is a path of liberation. It frees you from old stories that no longer serve you. It frees you from the need to prove yourself to anyone. It frees you to be exactly who you are. Flaws, fears, dreams, and all. Every moment you invest in yourself is a declaration, I am worthy, I am enough. I deserve love and care, not because I earn it, but because it is my birthright. This declaration is transformative because it rewires your mind and soul. It shifts your energy from scarcity to abundance, from fear to courage, from fragmentation to wholeness. When you focus solely on yourself with love and intention, you begin to embody your highest potential. You become a force of healing and inspiration, not just for yourself, but for the world around you. Your transformation starts now, in this very moment. The choice is yours to make, and the power to change lies within you. Choose yourself. Honor yourself. Transform your life. The journey is yours, and it is beautiful. There is a profound strength in silence. The silence that emerges when you stop chasing external approval and start listening to the quiet voice inside you. This voice carries wisdom, not noise, clarity, not confusion. It is the compass pointing toward your true north, waiting patiently for you to trust it. Yet, so often we drown this voice out with distractions, obligations, and fears. We settle for the chaos of doing instead of embracing the power of being. Focusing solely on yourself means reclaiming this silence. It means stepping away from the relentless demands and tuning deeply into your own heartbeat, your own breath, your own thoughts. It is a radical act of self-respect and courage because it asks you to face yourself without filters or defenses, to sit with your vulnerabilities and your strengths, your doubts and your dreams. It's in this space that true transformation begins. Psychology shows us that the ability to turn inward, to self-reflect and self-soothe, is essential for resilience and growth. When you nurture this inward focus, your brain rewires. Neural pathways that once fired out of fear and anxiety begin to rewire toward calm, focus, and confidence. You start to heal wounds not by ignoring them, but by acknowledging and embracing them with compassion. You develop an unshakable foundation from which you can build your life. Dr. GABOR MATÉ teaches us that many struggles, whether emotional pain, addiction, or chronic stress, are symptoms of disconnection from self. Healing happens when you stop running and start listening. When you offer yourself the kindness and attention you so readily give to others, you begin to mend the fractures within. This process is not always comfortable. It requires patience. It requires persistence, but it also brings freedom beyond what you've known. Imagine what it would feel like to wake up every morning without the weight of judgment pressing down on you, to look in the mirror and meet your own eyes with kindness instead of criticism, to carry your worth as a quiet certainty, not a fragile hope. This is what focusing on yourself creates, a life lived from strength, not struggle. As you deepen this practice, your choices become clearer. You no longer feel pulled in every direction by others' needs or by societal pressures. Instead, you make decisions rooted in what nourishes your soul and advances your growth. You develop the courage to say no to what doesn't serve you and yes to what lights your fire. This clarity fuels your motivation and propels you forward with a newfound sense of purpose. Your relationships also shift in response. When you are grounded in self-awareness and self-love, you no longer seek to fill voids with others' approval or validation. You attract connections that mirror your authenticity and respect your boundaries. You give and receive love freely without fear or compromise. This is not a distant ideal. It is the natural outcome of honoring yourself. First, every time you choose yourself, you break free from patterns that have held you captive. You dismantle the internal narratives that have whispered, "You're not enough." You reclaim the narrative that says, "I am worthy, I am capable, I am whole." This inner transformation radiates outward. It touches every part of your life. Your work, your creativity, your passions. You step into your power with a fierce tenderness, a balance of strength and softness. You become unstoppable, not because you're perfect, but because you are real. The path of focusing solely on yourself is not always easy. It asks you to confront fear and discomfort, to dismantle old beliefs and embrace new truths. But with every step, you grow stronger, you grow clearer, you grow free. There is no greater gift you can give yourself than the gift of your full attention, your full presence, your full love. This is the soil from which your transformation will bloom. So listen to that quiet voice within, honor your silence. Trust your path, focus solely on yourself, and watch as your life unfolds into the extraordinary journey you were always meant to live. When you commit to focusing solely on yourself, you begin to dismantle the chains of distraction and comparison that have held you captive. These chains are forged from years of conditioning, messages that tell you to look outward for validation, to measure your worth by someone else's standards. But these lies create an endless loop of dissatisfaction, a hollow hunger that can never be truly filled by external approval. The moment you turn your gaze inward, you break free from this cycle. You reclaim your power by anchoring your value in your own truth. This shift is not merely philosophical, it is deeply psychological. Research confirms that self-focus, when rooted in compassion and curiosity rather than judgment, fosters emotional resilience and growth. When you learn to observe your thoughts and feelings without criticism, you create a safe inner environment where healing can flourish. This is the antidote to self-sabotage and overwhelm. It's a practice that strengthens your ability to respond to life's challenges with clarity and calm. Dr. GABOR MATÉ's work reminds us that trauma and pain often stem from disconnection. Disconnection from our bodies, from our emotions, from our authentic selves. The path to healing is to restore this connection, which begins with self-focus. This is not a selfish act, it is a radical form of self-preservation and self-love. It says, I am worth the effort it takes to understand and care for myself. This commitment is the foundation of transformation. As you deepen this commitment, you begin to notice subtle shifts in how you relate to the world. You become less reactive and more reflective. You replace old patterns of avoidance and distraction with moments of presence and awareness. Each moment you spend tuning into yourself is a moment spent rewiring your brain for health and happiness. You train yourself to recognize when your energy is being drained and when it is being replenished. You become your own best advocate and guardian. This inner advocacy transforms how you interact with others. Instead of seeking to control or please, you engage from a place of authenticity and integrity. Your boundaries become clear and firm, not as walls to keep people out, but as gates that protect your inner garden. You learn to say no without guilt and yes without fear. This clarity invites deeper, more honest connections because you are no longer hiding parts of yourself to fit in or avoid conflict. Focusing solely on yourself also redefines success. It shifts your goals from external achievements to internal fulfillment. You start to pursue what truly lights you up, rather than what society tells you should. This alignment between values and actions creates a powerful sense of purpose that energizes your every step.